On May 20th, 2025, Trump announced the Golden Dome. Yes, a dome, not just any dome, but a golden one, to shield the US from missile attacks, hypersonic, ballistic, cruise missiles, all covered, even missiles from space. Yes, even Martian attacks, or so he claims. Bold considering our Wi-Fi struggles. Trump aims to complete it by the end of his term. Seems optimistic, doesn't it? Building a garden shed takes longer for some. Inspired by Reagan's Star Wars initiative. Has technology caught up? We shall see. Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative, or Star Wars, as it was affectionately and somewhat mockingly known, was a grand vision of lasers in space zapping Soviet missiles. Spoiler alert, it didn't quite pan out as planned. It was less a new hope and more the phantom menace of defense spending. Lots of hype, questionable results, and a lingering feeling that we might have been better off investing in something else. Now Trump is essentially saying, hold my Diet Coke, we're doing it again, but this time it's golden. The assertion that technology has now caught up is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. It's like saying, sure, my last attempt to bake a souffle ended with the fire department being called, but I've watched a YouTube tutorial now, so this one will be perfect. What specific technological breakthroughs have occurred that suddenly make a nationwide space-proof missile shield feasible when its predecessor struggled to even get off the drawing board in a truly convincing way? He didn't exactly elaborate, did he? And can we just appreciate the branding for a moment? Star Wars had a certain futuristic, albeit slightly nerdy, charm. The Golden Dome, however, sounds like the grand prize in a particularly gaudy game show. Tell them what they've won, Don! It's a trip for two to Hawaii, and the Golden Dome. It's less about subtle deterrence and more about, well, being incredibly gold. You have to wonder if the primary design requirement was make it shiny enough to be seen from Mar-a-Lago. It's a name that screams extravagance rather than strategic acumen. The inspiration, it seems, is less about the technological viability of Reagan's dream, more about its grandiosity. It's about making a big, bold statement. It's about a project so large, so ambitious, so that it captures the imagination, or at least a lot of headlines. Whether the science supports it or if the budget is even remotely tethered to reality seems to be a secondary concern. It's the political equivalent of ordering everything on the menu just to show you can, then hoping someone else figures out how to cook it and pay for it. Even a dome made of hopes and dreams needs funding. The projected cost, announced by President Trump, $175 billion. Yes, billion with a B. That's a colossal amount of money. You could buy actual infrastructure, healthcare, or a bronze dome. It's enough to make your eyes water. But here's the hilarious part. Analyst Rob Stallard called that figure suspiciously low. Like finding a Rolex in a cereal box. Or if some zeros were omitted during the PowerPoint presentation. For a project aiming to stop missiles, $175 billion sounds like a down payment. Consider Israel's Iron Dome. It protects a much smaller area. Israel has spent hundreds of millions, with the US chipping in around $3 billion. The US is significantly bigger than Israel, over 300 times larger. Scaling up the cost, you're looking at trillions. $175 billion seems like a typo or the gold paint budget. And it's not just one analyst raising an eyebrow. The Congressional Budget Office estimated the cost at $500 to $900 billion, and even those figures likely didn't account for the sheer, unadulterated ambition of Trump's vision. The initial budget request includes $25 billion for the first year, so $25 billion now, $175 billion eventually. Or maybe it's $175 billion spread over 7 years of wishful thinking. It's all very clear, isn't it? You know, the boring stuff, the number and type of counter-UAS systems, the constellation of satellites required to see these incoming space javelins, the ground installations, the interceptors themselves, the nuts and bolts, if you will. Or in this case, the gold rivets and diamond-encrusted sensors. But according to Capital Alpha Partners analyst Byron Callan, these minor details were conspicuously absent from Trump's grand announcement. It's like announcing you're building the world's greatest car, but forgetting to mention if it will have an engine, wheels, or, seats. It's going to be amazing and very, very golden. Okay, great. But Mr. Callan even suggested that the suspiciously low $175 billion might just cover spending for about 3 years. So it's not the total cost. It's more like an initial subscription fee to the Golden Dome experience, with the full terrifying price to be revealed later, probably in the fiscal year 2027 budget release. Surprise! Your national defense is now a subscription service and the price is going up. The stock market, ever the rational beast, had a bit of a flutter. Defense stocks rallied a bit on Wednesday, May 21st, the day after the announcement. L3 Harris Technologies even got a special mention from Senator Jim Banks at the event, causing their shares to do a little happy dance before settling down. It's always nice when politicians can give specific companies a little stock market nudge, isn't it? So bipartisan. However, the enthusiasm wasn't universal or long-lasting. Other big players like Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman saw their initial gains fizzle out. It's almost as if Wall Street, after the initial sugar rush, remembered that Star Wars was also very expensive and not entirely effective. So, what's the outlook for this Golden Dome, this shimmering, budget-defying, detail-avoiding marvel? Well, across the board, contractor involvement is expected, which is great news if you're a defense contractor or a Silicon Valley startup with a catchy name like Anduril. For the rest of us, it feels a bit like we're about to pay an astronomical sum for a very shiny, very expensive, and potentially very imaginary hat. Will it work? Will it even get built? Or will it just become another legendary tale of ambitious presidential projects that cost a fortune and delivered, well, a lot of good stories for late-night comedians? Only time and a lot of taxpayer money will tell.
Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on more quirky updates from around the world. Peace out. This is Cylorn TV signing off.